Hey everybody, KMO here. And if you ever hear me say, I almost never get sick, you can remind me that in the last week of April 2019, I was sick. Got a head cold, started exactly a week ago today in Dallas, turned into what felt like a sinus infection and is now basically just a cold. First one, and I can't tell you how long, but I'm probably forgetting the last one. I am not superhuman. Speaking of larger than life, more than human characters, you know, there's a lot of talk going around right now about Thanos because of Infinity War. You know, it's a great big movie. Lots of people talking about it. I talked about it on yesterday's video, which was actually shot the day before yesterday. And in it, just, you know, briefly, mostly I was letting Colin talk, but there are a fair amount of people out there, you know, the ones who say that humans suck, and they basically, you know, a subset of them say, well, Thanos did nothing wrong. In fact, there's a subreddit called Thanos Did Nothing Wrong, or something like that. And yeah, he did do something wrong. He was not noble in his motivations. He was not correct in his thinking, at least not in our world. See, in our world, if you kill off half the population, but the conditions are there, you know, for everybody to be well fed and, you know, everybody to have the things they need to get along in life, well, they're just going to breed right back to the, you know, the carrying capacity of their environment in short order, possibly in a generation or two. It will be a very short-lived fix that Thanos has affected. But really, there's a couple ways to think about it. One is, look, this is a guy with a hammer. He's looking for a nail. You know, why didn't he snap his fingers to increase the resource base of the universe, or just change the operating parameters of the universe to make it such that overpopulation and suffering from want and deprivation was just impossible? You know, contrary to the laws of physics. He could have done it. Why didn't he do it? And when people weren't happy with the results of his snap, what did he threaten to do? He threatened to tear down the entire universe to its very fundamental and rebuild it back up so that everybody would be grateful. This is not a guy who's looking to help other people. This is a guy who is looking for an outlet for his talents, and his talents are for violence, both, you know, personal upfront mano-a-mano violence and organizational, institutional violence, organizing, you know, masses of people to go and deal death to other masses of people. He wants recognition and appreciation for his excellence. He is not looking to alleviate suffering. That is his cover story. Now, I say, you know, whether or not he was right or wrong depends on what universe you're in, because in our universe, complex, technologically advanced civilizations don't collapse from starvation. They don't collapse from the overconsumption of resources. Or, you know, you might argue that it's happening right now, but it hasn't happened yet. And there is no historical example we can point to. And in fact, famine in the current contemporary real world typically only happens when two things happen simultaneously. One, you've got a natural disaster of some sort, say a flood or a fire or landslides or, you know, something. Something throws a monkey wrench into the usual operation of, you know, plant, harvest, eat. And, you know, there's a failed harvest. But that's not enough to create famine in the modern world, because there is an army, not the fighting kind of army, but the, you know, mass mobilizing kind of army of nonprofit organizations just waiting for the opportunity to rush into some area and provide relief to people in need. So not only do you need a natural disaster, but you need something to prevent that, you know, emergency relief international response, typically a war. Think of a place that has had famine in living memory. How about North Korea? There was famine in North Korea from like 94 through 96, like a 4-year period where, you know, every year, not only did they not create enough food for themselves, but because the country was closed, international relief organizations couldn't help them out. So think about this. On the Korean peninsula, there's a famine, but only north of a political border. South of the political border, the landscape's not that much different. The climate's not that much different. They're growing the same sorts of crops, they get in the same sort of weather. Why is it that there's famine north of the border and south of the border? People are still worried about getting fat, and people are still having liposuction and plastic surgery and really doing all the things that people in industrialized nations do to avoid looking like fat slobs. If you have the ability to move food around the globe in short order, which we do, famine is not an issue unless there is some political element to it. Flashback to Avengers Infinity War. We get this scene where Thanos is talking to Tony Stark, and he's on his own, his old home planet of Titan. Not the moon in our solar system, but, a different planet in a different solar system called Titan. And there are these colossal ruins, and it is implied that the civilization collapsed because of the overconsumption of precious, limited resources. Now, this is not only a technologically sophisticated civilization, this is a space-faring civilization. I mean, they're not high-tech compared to Neolithic hunter-gatherers, they're high-tech compared to us. They can easily go off-world to gather more resources. They can easily create orbital farms. How is it that Thanos people starve to death? Well, in that universe, the Marvel universe, that's just how things work. Even high-tech spacefaring civilizations can basically collapse and go extinct because of a shortage of food. Which puts somebody, like me in the position of the skeptic in an Anne Rice vampire novel. The guy who says, look, there are no such things as vampires. They don't exist. In our real world, that is a sensible position to take. In the world of an Anne Rice vampire novel, well, that's clearly contrary to fact. It is just false that there are no vampires. And the person who says something which is sensible in the real world, there are no vampires, is an idiot in an Anne Rice novel. So while here in the real world, technologically advanced civilizations don't utterly collapse and all of their population go extinct because of famine, in the Marvel universe, they do. Anyway, I will talk to you again tomorrow.